Welcome to the deep dive. So you've brought us some really interesting stuff today, excerpts from Sam Altman's blog post, How to Be Successful.
Yeah, that's the one.
And our plan really is to try and look past the kind of surface level success advice you usually hear.
Exactly. We want to dig into the core principles he thinks drive really exceptional achievement.
Based on his observations, right? From his whole Y Combinator experience and everything.
That's it. We're not just, reading a blog post aloud. We're trying to pull out the actionable things. What does it really take to get those, outlier results?
Okay, let's jump right in. First big idea, compound yourself. Now, my first thought goes to finance, investing.
Sure, that's the obvious connection. But Altman's point is much broader. It's this sort of magic that applies way beyond just money.
How so?
Well, think about momentum. In business, it's that exponential growth, maybe from network effects or how things scale up.
Right.
But it's also personal, your career path, gaining skills, building leverage. It all kind of snowballs if you approach it right.
Leverage, yeah.
Yeah.
Skills compounding over time.
And your network, too. That's a huge one he implies. Every real connection you make, it can have these ripple effects later. It's like building this web of relationships that just get stronger.
He sets the bar incredibly high, though, aiming to add another 0 to your success definition. That's ambitious.
It is. And that kind of leap, well, it demands long-term thinking. People tend to think linearly, step by step.
Next promotion, next raise.
Right. But Altman's talking about exponential curves. Like, imagine your learning actually accelerates, where each project has way more impact than the last. That's compounding yourself.
And he lists ways to get leverage, right? Capital, obviously. Tech, brand, network effects, like you said. Managing people, too.
All ways to amplify your own effort, because your time is limited.
Right, yeah.
So leverage is about making your output way bigger than your input, using these tools, capital, tech, people, to scale yourself.
Okay, let's shift gears. This next one feels tricky. Have almost too much self-belief. Isn't that just, well, delusion?
Huh. Yeah, that's the tightrope walk, isn't it? He sees these super successful people, and they often have this belief that seems, frankly, a bit nuts to outsiders.
Like borderline irrational.
Kind of. But that deep conviction, he argues, is what lets them think differently, spot opportunities no one else does, and create massive value. But you get on the key thing. How do you know you haven't just gone off the deep end? Are there checks?
He tells that story about Elon Musk, right? Early SpaceX days, walking through the factory, just knowing they're going to Mars, even with rockets blowing up.
Exactly. That's the level of conviction. And it's not just for show. It's vital for morale, your own, your team's, and fad, especially when you're doing something incredibly hard.
Because setbacks are guaranteed.
Absolutely. That internal belief keeps you pushing when everyone else, maybe even you sometimes, has doubts.
But then he immediately follows up with, balance it, self-awareness, listen to criticism. That sounds really hard to do simultaneously.
It's incredibly hard. The trick is figuring out if your belief is grounded in like a solid, maybe contrarian view of reality, or if it's just ego.
So actively seek out people who'll tell you the truth, even when it hurts.
Yeah, that seems to be the idea. Keep that self-belief anchored somehow. Don't let it float off into fantasy land.
All right, next. Learn to think independently. He seems a bit down on traditional schooling here.
Well, he has a point, doesn't he? School often teaches you what to think or how to follow rules, not necessarily how to generate truly original ideas.
So it's about questioning things.
Yeah, thinking from first principles, breaking problems down to the absolute basics, and building your own reasoning up from there, not just taking conventional wisdom as gospel.
And then you test those ideas out. He mentions the fail many times, be really right once thing. Sounds like the startup mantra.
Totally. It's that iterative process. Try something, learn, adjust, try again. And every time you solve a tough problem yourself, you build that grit, that confidence that you can figure things out.
Okay, this next one might catch people off guard. Get good at sales. Not just selling widgets, I take it.
Not at all. His point is, look at any great career, you're always selling something.
Like your vision, your ideas.
Exactly. Selling your vision to customers or users, selling your abilities to a team you want to join, selling your plan to investors. It's all persuasion, really. Inspiring belief.
He lists the ingredients. Inspiring vision, clear communication, charisma helps, evidence you can actually do it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And he specifically calls out writing clearly. He says clear thinking leads to clear writing. Hard to argue with that.
Yeah, if you can't explain it simply.
You probably don't understand it well enough. And crucially, he says it helps if you genuinely believe what you're selling, that authenticity comes across.
He also has that tip about showing up in person, how seemingly small meetings turned into big career moments for him.
Right. It's about making that extra effort, making an impression. Sometimes just being there, physically present, opens doors you didn't expect. The power of connection.
Let's talk risk. Make it easy to take risks. He thinks we generally get the risk-reward calculation wrong.
Yeah, he suggests we tend to overweight the potential downside and underweight the potential upside. We're too afraid of what might go wrong.
And risk is necessary for growth, for learning.
Definitely. You can't get exceptional results playing it super safe all the time. You got to be willing to try things, step out of the comfort zone, see what happens, adapt.
And it's easier early on, he says. Fewer responsibilities, less to lose if something goes sideways.
That's a big one. Less baggage,
Yeah.
you know. And he likes the idea of making small bets with asymmetric upside.
Meaning?
Small risk, potentially huge reward. Little experiments where if they fail, it's no big deal. But if they work, it's a game changer. Lets you explore without betting the farm.
He warns about getting too comfortable, too. That golden handcuff situation in a stable job.
Oh, yeah. He mentions seeing that at YC. Founders coming from big tech companies, they have this comfortable life, good salary. It becomes incredibly hard to leave, even if they want to do something bigger.
The predictability trap.
Exactly. So he advises keeping your life relatively cheap and flexible, specifically so you can take risks when opportunities arise. Don't build yourself a cage, basically.
Next up, focus. Seems simple, but crucial. A force multiplier, he calls it.
Right. But the emphasis isn't just on focusing while you work. It's spending serious time thinking about what to focus on in the first place.
So the strategic decision is key.
Hugely important. Working incredibly hard on the wrong thing. Well, it doesn't get you very far. He thinks figuring out the right priorities is maybe the most important work.
More important than just logging more hours.
Way more important. Once you know the right thing, then you execute with speed and intensity. But pick the right target first.
Which leads nicely into work hard. He doesn't really sugarcoat this one.
No, he's pretty clear. Getting to, say, the 90th percentile, maybe talent or hard work can get you there, but the 99th percentile, the absolute top.
Needs both, smart and hard work.
Almost always, yeah. He observes that extreme results often come from extreme people and acknowledges, the life trade-offs involved. It's not necessarily balanced.
And success breeds success, right? That momentum point again.
Yeah, winning gives you energy, makes you want to work harder. Plus, the fulfillment you get from doing something meaningful, having an impact, that's a powerful motivator too.
He mentions seeing intense drive outside the U.S. now, too.
Yeah, that global hunger.
Right.
But he's also practical about burnout. You got to find ways to sustain it.
Like enjoying the work itself and the people you work with.
Crucial. If you hate the process and the team, you won't last. He basically dismisses the idea you can achieve massive success without putting in serious effort, especially early on when you're building that foundation.
Okay, be bold. This one's interesting. He says harder startups can actually be easier. How does that work?
It sounds backwards, right?
Okay.
But his logic is big, ambitious, important problems attract attention.
Okay.
If you're trying to, cure a disease or revolutionize energy, talented people want to join that. Investors get excited. It creates this pull.
Whereas a small incremental improvement might struggle to get noticed.
Exactly. The sheer audacity of a big goal can actually attract the resources you need. It generates its own tailwind.
That's a cool insight. He also says follow your genuine interests, even if they're weird.
Right. Don't just chase the current hot trend. If everyone's doing AI and you're obsessed with, sustainable farming tech, maybe that's your edge. Your unique passion might be where the real opportunity is.
Let's talk be willful. This sounds like pure grit.
It really is. It's this core belief Altman has that you can often, bend reality to your will if you just refuse to give up.
Seriously, bend reality.
Wait, we can not literally bend spoons. But he thinks most people give up way too easily. Self-doubt creeps in. They don't push hard enough.
So the secret is just sheer persistence.
A lot of it, yeah. Ask for what you want, even if you expect a no. Keep pushing. He says the success rate of people who are just determined to make it work is surprisingly high.
He uses Airbnb as the example, right? All those rejections early on.
Totally. They just wouldn't die. That's willfulness. And it's tied to optimism. You have to believe it's possible to keep fighting that hard.
Okay, how about be hard to compete with? Taking business strategy and applying it to yourself.
Precisely. If someone else can do exactly what you do, maybe cheaper or faster, eventually they probably will. So you need a moat.
A personal moat, how do you build that?
He suggests things like really strong personal relationships, people trust you, a unique personal brand, or getting good at the intersection of different fields. Like maybe you know tech and biology deeply. That combination is rare.
Makes you less replaceable.
Exactly. And avoid just copying everyone else that mimetic behavior. Find your unique angle.
Makes sense. Next, build a network. We touched on this, but he emphasizes teamwork.
Yeah, big things are almost never done alone. You need a team, a network of talented people. The size and quality of your network can literally limit what you're able to achieve.
And his top tip for building it.
Just genuinely help people. Play the long game. Offer support. Make connections for others. Don't keep score. He says it's worked incredibly well for him personally.
Karma points.
Sort of. And be generous with collaborators. Share the upside. Share the credit. It builds loyalty and makes people want to work with you again.
He also talks about spotting talent. Not just current skills, but potential.
Right. Identifying strengths, putting people in the right roles, and looking for that rate of improvement. Someone who's learning and growing incredibly fast. That's a sign of huge potential.
That force of nature quality he mentions.
Yeah. And getting a mentor, someone established who believes in you early, that can be massive. But again, it's reciprocal. You need to be helpful to them too.
And just generally, surround yourself with positive, supportive people. Seems basic, but...
But so important. Your environment shapes you. Choose people who lift you up, not drag you down.
Okay, moving towards the end here. You get rich by owning things. This cuts against the climbing the corporate ladder idea.
Big time. He's saying, look, a high salary is nice, but it's linear. You trade time for money. Real wealth, the kind that grows exponentially, that comes from ownership.
Owning what?
Equity in a business, especially one that scales. Real estate that appreciates. Intellectual property. Things that can increase in value much, much faster than you can increase your salary.
So the path to wealth is creating or owning assets.
Assets that grow. And the best way to create those is often by building something people want at scale. That creates the value that makes the asset appreciate.
Got it. And the final principle, be internally driven. This is about your why.
Exactly. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it to impress yourself because you feel compelled to build this thing, solve this problem? Or is it to impress others, chase status, get approval?
He argues the internal drive is much more powerful.
And more sustainable. External validation is fickle. It can lead you to chase trends, play it safe, worry too much about what others think. It messes with your risk calculation.
He warns that smart people can actually be more prone to this external drive trap.
Yeah, because they're often good at playing the game, getting the external rewards. So it takes conscious effort to stay tuned into your own internal compass, your own motivations.
He mentions Paul Graham and Jessica Livingston with YC early on. People thought they were crazy.
Right. Widespread skepticism. But they believed deeply in what they were doing. That internal drive kept them going when external signals were negative.
So ultimately, long-term outlier success comes from doing great work on things you genuinely care about, maybe even obsess over.
That's the core message, I think. That internal passion is the fuel for the immense effort required for those really big breakthrough achievements.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, it's really a combination, isn't it? Mindset, the self-belief, independent thought, skill sales, networking, strategy risk, focus, and that underlying drive.
Yeah, it's a whole package, not just one magic bullet. These are the patterns Altman observed in the most successful people he encountered.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Thinking about all these principles, maybe especially that compounding idea, where's one place in your own life, maybe skills, maybe relationships, where taking that really long-term compounding view could lead to some surprising results down the line?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.